Friends, welcome in this session of Adhyatmavalokan or a spiritual astrology, in which we are now continuing the discussion on concept of Trinity in the horoscope. In the first part or in first session, in the first part of this video, I have explained you how the first three houses of the horoscope are related to Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. I explained there that first house is the birth, the creation, so it represents Brahma. Second house is food, learning, walking, crawling, everything that supports the life, so it represents Vishnu. And third house that represents all types of arms and armaments necessary for causing destructions, represent the house of destruction, death, and that is identical with the role of the third trinity, that is Lord Shiva, Rudra, or Mahesh. Now starts again the second set. Starting from the fourth house, we will again see that these three houses, that is fourth, fifth, and sixth, again represent the lords of Trinity, that is Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. How? Let us again go into these houses and their significations. How they have been fixed by our brilliant sages in the scheme of Kal Purush and of life of the native, and this shows the supremacy of Vedic astrology also. We all know that first house is the house of comforts. That's why houses, buildings, vehicles, landed property, and all other types of property that can be clubbed under a common head of immovable assets are connected with the fourth house of the horoscope. Here again, there is a role of creation. We need a building for comfort. We need a vehicle for comfort. We need a landed property for our farmhouse, etc., where farming can be done, crops can be grown. That all shows creation only. Therefore, this house again shows, or this house again depicts the Lord of the first Trinity, that is Brahma. Then we come to the fifth house. Fifth house has everything that sustains or maintains the comforts that is generated from the force field of the fourth house. So in the fifth house, we have the amenities that maintain and sustain the comforts, or the amenities, or the feelings of comforts. So from the fifth house, we study about sports. We study about cinemas, theaters, and places of dramas, etc. They all add to and maintain our level of comfort. Even this house has worship, meditation, etc., that again gives peace of mind and comfort. What I mean to say, that if you carefully go into the attributes of the fifth house, we'll again find that these attributes are directed towards maintaining and sustaining the level of comforts. So, the comfort generated in the force field of fourth house is maintained and sustained in the force field of the fifth house. That's why different types of games, sports, music, dance that gives us more comforts, that maintains and sustains our comforts, is related to the fifth house. Therefore, it is clear that when the fourth house represents Brahma, the fifth house represents Vishnu because of its role of preserving the comfort. Now comes the sixth house. In sixth house, we have all types of disputes, quarrels, litigations that takes away our comfort. Whenever we enter into a quarrel or a conflict, whenever we go into litigation, whenever we started, we start fighting with others, the first thing that we instantly lose is our comfort. This horse also signifies disease, a diseased body, or a man in sick condition, or when he is ailing from some sort of physical morbidity, he is not comfortable. That means the currents of the sixth house work to destroy the currents of comfort generated from the fourth house and maintained and sustained in the fifth house. Therefore, this house represents the third trinity, that is Mahesh or Lord Shiva or Rudra. Therefore, in the second set also we have seen that fourth house represents Brahma, fifth house represents Vishnu, and sixth house represents Rudra or Mahesh, Lord Shiva. Now we will move on to third set, that is seventh, eighth, and ninth house. So now by now you can understand that seventh house will represent Brahma, eighth house will represent Vishnu, and the ninth house will represent Mahesh or Rudra. Some of you may question that eighth house, which is the house of death, destruction, dissolution, disease also, how can that be suitable to the role of second trinity, that is Lord Vishnu? And third house in no way is related to destruction. So how can the energy field of ninth house can be fit to the role of Mahesh or Rudra, the third trinity, who is taken as destroyer of everything. Now I will explain you how this happens here. See, seventh house is the house of pleasure. Sex is the biggest pleasure that a man seeks during his life. So it is also called that it is the biggest boon given by the Creator to its creation or created beings. Therefore, there must not be any doubt that the energy field of the seventh house is imbued with the vibrations that generate pleasure. And sex, as I have already told, being the biggest motivational force, is also the biggest source of pleasure in the life of any creature, including human being. Now, eighth house is called the house of sexual pleasure. That's why in female horoscope it is also described as Mangalya Sukh, the house of the comforts of conjugal life. So, the pleasure that is generated in the seventh house is sustained and maintained in the eighth house. Thus, now it should be clear to all how eighth house here becomes fit for the role of the second trinity, that is Vishnu. Seventh house represents Brahma because it is associated with the generation of the pleasure. And eighth house becomes connected to Vishnu because it serves as the source for preservation of that pleasure. So, seventh house is generator of pleasure, eighth house is the preserver of that pleasure. So, again, seventh house is Brahma, eighth house is Vishnu. Now come to the ninth house. Ninth house serves as the destroyer of the pleasure because the sexual pleasure for which everyone hankers in life and all created beings seek vigorously is eliminated when the man moves on the path of modality and start doing everything that is required for moving on to the golden road of spirituality. Vibrations of ninth house is closely connected to dharma. This house is also called dharma. Its vibration leads us towards the divinity, and in the path of seeking divinity, the first thing that needs to be conquered is the desire of sex or the haunting, blasting pressure of the sex. So it serves as a destroyer for the pleasure that is generated in the form of sex in the seventh house. Thus, it becomes fit for the role of third trinity, that is Mahesh. So it is also now clear, I have explained you that seventh house becomes Brahma, eighth house Vishnu, and ninth house Mahesh, Shiva, Rudra, Pralankar. Now come to the fourth set, that is 10th, 11th, and 12th. 10th house is the house of karma. Its vibrations impels the being or the native for doing the karma, because without doing the karma, it is not possible to live in this world. For continuance of the life, karma is essential. Every human being or a creature will have to do something for its own maintenance and sustenance. So, karma acts as the seed of generation. Therefore, this house becomes the house of Brahma. Now, 11th house gives the wealth of the karma. That means whatever comes or accrues from the karma is obtained through the energy field of the 11th house, That's why it is also called the horse of gain. And in Sanskrit, this horse is also called Bhavsagar because karma helps us to swim through the Bhavsagar, the world that is sea of the karma. Therefore, 11th house becomes Vishnu, and 12th house is the house of redemption, emancipation, dissolution, where everything stops. It brings about the cessation of all karma. It is the destruction of karma. So, 12th house is the house of Mahesh or Rudra. Friends, thus in these two sessions, I have explained you how the concept of Trinity is very closely woven in the scheme of horoscope. And what can be more spiritual than the concept of Trinity, the concept of Brahma, the concept of Vishnu, the concept of Shiva or Rudra. And here we have seen that Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh are available, present in the horoscope. Astrologically, I have explained it, and therefore, sorry, therefore, you can now see that every bit of Vedic astrology is spiritual, and we need not give it any separate name like a spiritual astrology because Vedic astrology itself is 100% spiritual. Thanks.